For some reason the camera went to sleep when I was about 3/4 of the way done, and I didn't realize it until after I was done. So we moved inside, and I will finish in here. Okay, so the next pumpkin is the Lumina pumpkin. And originally when I was going through for my seed orders, Harris Seeds had a like pumpkin patch blend or something like that, and it was packs of, I want to say, 6 different seeds, and it kind of gave you like just a wide variety. And Lumina was in them. And I was originally going to order that, but then they sold out of a couple of those seeds. So I ended up changing, and but Lumina was still on my list. Like, I wanted it last year. So I thought that this, I needed it still this year. It's 100 days from seeding. And they're fairly decent size. They're not like the little white pumpkins. They're 10 to 15 pounds, so they're still carvable. They'll be smaller, obviously, than the big carvers, but they're still carvable, and the inside flesh is like a bright orangish yellow, so it just looks really cool with the bright white skin of the Lumina. And the thing I worry about the most with this is that it says on them to pick as they ripen to avoid color change when they become over mature. So I'm really going to have to think about where to plant these, because I need to make sure that I can see them well, and that if the vines grow too much, because it doesn't say how much the vines are going to grow, that we are able to access them and pick them right away when they turn white. So that's going to be, I think that's my biggest issue out of all the pumpkins that we have this year. That's like my biggest concern, or maybe my second biggest concern. They on their website it says this white skin is excellent for painting and offers excellent contrast with bright orange flesh when fruit are covered. Or when fruit are carved. Harvest Lumina early, like late August to early September, as stress causes a blue tinge on the white skin. We get very early winters here, so this is something that I really am going to have to watch. So that is what I'm worried about with those. Next up, so that was from Harris Seeds. And 25 seeds in the pack. Next up, also from Harris Seeds, is the Mini Red Turban Gourd. 25 seeds in the pack, 105 days from seeding. Now these are really cool because they have like a bright orangish reddish color base, and then they have almost like a hat over the top, and that's like a creamy white, slightly tan color. And so they just look really cool, and I thought it would really add a lot, not just to our pumpkin patch, but like to home decor. And they are about 3 to 6 inches in diameter, and they're about half of a pound to a pound. And it says they're vigorous plants and they produce good yields. So 25 seeds should get us quite a few of those gourds. I'm really excited about these. These should be a fun one. You know, and I'm not quite sure what to expect, but I think they'll look really cool. Now, this one is a naked seeded pumpkin. We had these last year. We had from Victory Seeds, and we liked them, but they were finicky. And they clearly state that. This is probably my second biggest worry, next to the Lumina. These guys, I worry about them, but so far I started all of these already, and they all seem to be doing great. So they're outside already. They're not planted, they're not transplanted yet, but they're still doing great. Last year, I started them in the ground after the danger of frost was over, like it says, and I don't know if it's where I planted it, like the dirt that was the issue, or if they were just that finicky, but the heat, once we got a little further into the summer, the heat was really making them wilt. Wasn't affecting any of the other pumpkins around it. That's why it made me wonder if it was just these guys. And so we would have to water these twice a day with cold water. We would actually, we ended up doing it 3 times a day, because we watered all the pumpkins early in the morning, and then these guys would get droopy early afternoon. And so we would water just these guys. And then in the evening, when the sun was like really hot, we would water them again. And we made it through. We had, I want to say, 3 or 4 plants. We had a pretty good yield on them. I'm happy with the yield that we had. And they look really cool. They almost looked like a digital camouflage that was green and orange. And they were a pretty decent size. I'd say 10 to 15 pounds. And they, as soon as the frost hit, the plants were dead. So that is also an issue. So if you have an early frost, or if you don't start them right away, now these are 110 days. So I planted them early enough that we won't have to worry about that. But that is a concern. As soon as that frost hit, I was hoping to get them just a little bigger and let them ripen a little more, and as soon as that frost hit, the plants were absolutely dead. There was like, everything else was still okay around them, and they were goners. So these guys, I got them from Fedco. I got 1/8 of an ounce, and that was 15 seeds, which is plenty for what we need. The really cool thing about these is that they're naked seeded. So, you know, typically a pumpkin has that seed on the inside, and on that seed it's like that white shell, and it's like sharp and crunchy, and then on the inside is actually like the good part. And these guys don't have that outer shell, which is probably why they're finicky. They're very susceptible to frost because that doesn't make sense. When you're planting them, they're very susceptible to frost because they don't have that extra little layer of protection on them. And they just seem to be a more delicate plant. This is what their website says. Plentiful, plump, dark brown hulless seeds show a good balance of mild nuttiness and an underlying rich, earthy potency. It's hard to stop munching on this healthy roasted snack that is full of beneficial oils, protein, and zinc. So these actually, like when you see pumpkin seed oil, that's what they're made out of. They're made out of this type of pumpkin. This is a Good Egg Godiva naked seeded pumpkin. Last year we used the Williams naked seeded from Victory Seeds. And so I would love to figure out how to make some sort of oil out of them, but last year, the ones that we had, we ended up roasting the seeds and eating them immediately. It is important to note that these, the flesh is good only for animal fodder. So they're not edible. The flesh on the actual pumpkin is not edible for humans. And we don't have an issue with that at our place, but I know other people might. So it is something to consider, especially if you're trying to have everything edible. You need to somehow let your customers know about that. So number 12 is the Jarradale squash. This was another one that I asked on a poll on social media, and a lot of people said yes. And I ended up ordering these from Baker Creek, which is where we got most of our vegetable seeds from as well. And there were 10 seeds, a minimum of 10 seeds. I guess I didn't open this one. And these guys are supposed to be like a slate blue-gray. So like a gray, a darker gray with a blue undertone. And they're more of like a cylinder type squash. So they're gonna be round, they're gonna be probably about that high. They're gonna have like almost like corners on them. And then like with the deep ridges. So it's more like a flat pumpkin. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14. So we got 14 seeds, and they said it was a minimum of 10 seeds. So these guys, what I really liked about them, other than the color, because that would really add a lot to home decor, adding a gray pumpkin, like how stinking cool is that? But these guys have an excellent shelf life. They can be kept for over 12 months. So I was excited about that, even just for our own personal use. It would be fun to have some squashes that that we can have in the February, March when we'll have our greenhouse next year, but you know, that's really when I'm craving like good fresh garden veggies. And so that is great, and they're supposed to be really tasty too. And they're very popular in Australia is what Baker Creek's website said. So this is 100 days. They're 6 to 10 pounds. So a pretty decent size. They're not going to be small, but it should, even just for home decor, it should really add a lot to your front porch, to your tables, whatever. They should look really cool. Okay, so next, also from Baker Creek, we have the New England Sugar Pie. Typical 4 to 5 pounds. This had excellent reviews. It's an heirloom variety, obviously, because I got it from Baker Creek. And, you know, it just was an excellent pie pumpkin. And we didn't sell any pie pumpkins last year, and so I wanted to make sure that we had them this year because we're a pumpkin patch, and what better to use pumpkins for than pumpkin pie? So wanted to make sure we had these. 20 seeds for $2.50 it says on it, Baker Creek. And yeah, we're excited about these guys, and they should be a great addition this year. On Harris Seeds website, they're great at writing the descriptions for growers who are selling commercially. So they have a few that are that nice size for classes coming to your pumpkin patch. But in our area, ooh, we got a mosquito here. In our area, lots of times what kids will pick up from the pumpkin patch are actually pie pumpkins. So that was important for me to have that size. When the girls were little and we'd go to pumpkin patches, that's what they would want. They'd want that littler pumpkin that they could carry around, but yet was still kind of big enough that we could maybe carve or paint something on. I don't know how familiar you are with pie pumpkins, but their shell is hard. That meat, until you cook it, is hard. So they're very, very hard to carve. We've found, because we have done this, our oldest is 15, so we've been doing this for 15 years, and we found that you can drill into them, make some cool designs with a drill, and with just carving the skin off of the outside, and then when you put your little candle on the inside, it actually kind of glows. So we have used a lot of pie pumpkins for that, in addition to making homemade pumpkin pies. So that's a little tip from me in my very little pumpkin patch growing experience. That is from a pumpkin patch consumer. How about that? Okay, so the final one that I have is the Jack Be Little. These guys, 90 days. It's an 8-ounce pack from Baker Creek. These guys we had last year also from Victory Seeds. That's where I ordered most of my seeds last year. And they were very, very, very prolific. They did great. We had hundreds upon hundreds out of one little pack of seeds. And so this year my plan is to trellis these. Guys, I have a really cool idea that'll be in an upcoming video for these. They're 90 days. They average about 8 ounces. Now last year, I don't know if it was the variety we got. It was also called Jack Be Little. But the variety that we got last year, and I want to try it again this year, we had some that were like little tiny. They were probably maybe 2 ounces. And we had some that were almost 2 pounds. I don't know. I'm not familiar with how hybridizing works and crossbreeding, if that's even possible in pumpkins. But I'm wondering if, because I had these in between our Connecticut Field pumpkins and our giant pumpkins that we had tried to grow last year, I don't know if these guys like cross-pollinated with them or what, or if it just was the variety in them and that we had so many. But we just absolutely love these. Now the really cool thing is, I thought I was ordering a pack of 20. It says on the back 20. We actually ended up getting 63 seeds. So thank you, Baker Creek. And we will be planting these all over our farm. We're going to plant them down by the highway. We're going to plant them by the little roadside stand. We're going to plant them around the stone coop. We're going to plant them around our house. There are enough here that we can probably supply everybody in our tiny town with these little guys. So we may be doing a promotion where buy a normal pumpkin and get a Jack Be Little for free. I don't know, but I'm pretty excited. If all else fails, we have a lot of these and we have a lot of Connecticut Field pumpkins, so we should be good. So that's what we have for the pumpkins for this year. I hope you learned something. I hope we helped you. I know that when I was searching, guys, on what pumpkins to choose for our pumpkin patch, there was nothing out there. And on how to start a pumpkin patch, there was no videos. There was very little blogs or anything like that. So I'm really hoping that I can show you what's working for us, what's not working for us, and hopefully maybe you could share with me what's working for you and what isn't working for you. I would love to hear that. But that's just kind of what's going on here and what we're doing. And hopefully you learned something or got some ideas for your own pumpkin patch. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.